Hey, welcome to the Black and Gold Standard Podcast. And today we want to talk about um, mock draft 5.0. We want to talk about the mock draft. And we all know, the Steelers have made a lot of moves in free agency, which is gonna which it really changed some things, and I believe it's going to change some things as far as how this draft is going to go. And this was like one of the things I was saying even before we started this, before the combine and the opening of free agency, that once you kind of see the moves that the Steelers have made in free agency, it's going to kind of open that picture up. Not all the way. I mean, it's still kind of who knows what they're going to really do, but it just kind of opens up the door of some things and eliminates some guys, and maybe add some guys that you didn't think that they would go for. The Steelers are almost and kind of put themselves in a position where they can take best available player. So it's just a lot of ways they could go. So again, this thing is a crapshoot. We can all give our opinions on what we think, but who knows what they're really thinking. Um, just the one thing I can say is the Steelers have like 12 picks, and they're not going to use all those picks drafting players. Most of the time, I try to make some deals to get rid of some picks, and usually on average, I'm drafting them probably about 9 guys, and I think that's maybe two, probably about two too many. The Steelers, when you just look at their roster, they really just don't have a lot of room to put, for a lot of young guys. So that's one of the things that you got to look at. Everybody is kind of holding on, are going, well, at least going to try to hold on to their picks for the 27 draft, because it's just going to be some good players, not only quarterbacks. It's just going to be some good players. But the thing that I've always said, a lot of people say, well, the Steelers can get their quarterback next year, and which I don't really know about that, because for one thing, I mean, yeah, we kind of have an idea of the guys that's coming out and early projections of what these guys are going to do. But like you say, you never know with injuries. Somebody have a bad year, and now these guys are finding ways of staying in school, especially with the money being paid to these quarterbacks. It's easier for a lot of these guys to stay in school, because if they're not a first round pick, they're basically coming into the NFL losing money. So you got to deal with that. You got to deal with, again. I mean, I always will say this. The owner, Art Rooney, said that this team is not in the business of tanking. And when you look at the moves that the Steelers have made, it's fairly fair to say that this is a better team than it was last year. Now, obviously, the quarterback situation got to be figured out, and I think that will be. But this is probably a better team early, looking at the roster, than the team was last year. And with that said, that team won 10 games. So I have no doubt. I have no doubt. I mean, obviously things can happen, and especially at the quarterback situation, if Rodgers' arm falls off or he gets hurt, those type things can happen, and that can tank your year. But other than that, if none of those things happen, I still see this team winning 9, 10, 11 games. I mean, that's just what they do. That's just what they do. I think this roster will be good enough to do that. I think from an offensive standpoint, this is going to be a better scheme. Actually got some receivers now, that you should be able to score some points, and won't just be one dimensional. this team is just better. I think from the defensive side of the ball, you're gonna have some better scheme, some better players. And to be flat honest, and again, I'm not pointing fingers at anybody, but I think this is going to be a better coach team. I think this is going to be a better coach team. So I have no doubt. I have no doubt that at the end of the day, this team will win their normal 9, 10, 11 games and get to the playoffs and hopefully by the grace of God, they win a playoff game. But so to say the Steelers will be in a position to get their quarterback next year, I'm not so no, I'm not so. I, I don't know. Like I say, I just don't think that they're going to be in a position. And with them, they're not trying to. And granted, some people could say it's the wrong way of doing things, and you know sometimes you need to sit back and reset. But this is just not the Pittsburgh Steelers. This is not what they do. They're not in the business of doing that. You know, like you can see the Miami Dolphins. I mean, the Miami Dolphins basically and just gave up. They ain't gave up and just said, "Hey, we're gonna be one of the worst teams in the league, and we resetting." And I mean, that's cool, and that's probably a smart way of doing things. Just you know, getting things reset. But Pittsburgh Steelers is not going to do that. So I can't see them getting to get one of these top quarterbacks. You're talking about getting in the top five, and the Steelers not. They're not going to do that. They're not going to have the ammunition to move up that far. So with that said, let's kind of get into this. Let's kind of get into this mock draft and see what we can come up with. So I did make some moves, and I was able to trade away some picks because, like I say, I don't believe the Steelers are taking 12 picks. You just don't have. I mean, any team. I mean, like now, like a team like the Miami Dolphins that's on straight tank mode. I could see them trying to get as many picks as they can, bring in some cheap talent, bring in some young talent. But at this point, you know, like I say, the Steelers are in full mode of trying to win this division, getting into the playoffs. And I know it could sound like a joke, but their mindset is to win a Super Bowl. Now, will that happen? More than likely not, but that's their mindset. That you know, their mindset is nothing short of that. So with that said, let's um let's let's get into this and kind of see what I came up with. So um again, this is just some guys that after all the moves were made, this is kind of what I felt like the Steelers were gonna do. And we'll just see. We'll see how it goes. So let's um let's get started. First pick, which would be pick 21. So I got the Steelers staying pat, and I have them bringing in um, Omar Cooper Jr., wide receiver, um, 6 foot, 199 pounds. Um, he'll play the slot. So now you got DK and you have Pittman. So you got two bigger guys on the outside, and Cooper would be your slot guy. So he's gonna be the guy that going to run the bubbles, and if they run jet sweep, I don't really know if that's in McCartney's offense, but he's going to be that inside guy. He's going to be that chain mover. He's going to be that guy that like I say, especially running bubbles and just a quick hitch and getting yak yards. And Cooper, I have to admit, Cooper is a guy that it kind of he kind of grew on me because at the beginning of all this, I wasn't. I'm not gonna really say I wasn't high on him, but he just wasn't one of the guys that I was I'm not gonna even say a fan of. I just didn't. I wasn't feeling them like that. But after watching this film and looking at the Steelers' needs, he actually grew on me, and I think he'll be a perfect fit. I think he'd be a perfect fit. I think he has a great work ethic, which is going to be very important, especially with Aaron Rodgers, because Aaron Rodgers really does not like young receivers. But I think he's a guy just from where he came from and the coach that he's played with. He has a great work ethic, and I think he will be a guy that will come in and kind of know what he's doing, and you know, I think he'll blend right in, and I think Aaron Rodgers will actually be okay um, working with him. So number two, going to the second round again. Again, I was able to stand pat. Didn't have to trade, and so with that said, second pick went with Kalen Rutledge. Um, guard, offensive guard, 6'4", 316 pounds, out of Georgia Tech. If anybody know anything about Georgia Tech, they ran the ball. They ran the ball a lot. So he's definitely a role grader type of guard. Something that the Steelers need because right now the guard position is basically wide. The left guard position is definitely wide open, and so I think this is a kid that can come in and compete. I'm quite sure the Steelers will bring in a veteran um, left guard at some point in the summer if they don't do it soon, and he'll be able to compete and get in there and hopefully win him a position with by him being the second round pick. I think they'll give him every opportunity to come in and win that spot. But I think that's a situation the Steelers are going to have to figure out what they want to do there. Like I say, I'm quite sure they're going to sign a veteran at some point before camp and give him some competition. But I think this is the kid that could maybe come in and start as a rookie on that left side of the offensive line and as far as the left guard position, I mean the left tackle position, I think the Steelers maybe just depending on what Broderick Jones, what happens with him, you still got Dalen Cook. So I think those guys are going to battle it out now. Maybe through the summer, if they don't feel like they're happy with both of these guys, maybe they try to go out and just try to find a veteran that may be out there or a trade or something. But um, I think that left side of the line definitely needs to get addressed. And like I always said, every draft you need to be drafting offensive linemen because you just got to keep those guys coming. You got to have that rotation, just always moving because I think that's one of the hey Christine, how you doing? I think that was one of the issues that got the Steelers in trouble. They kind of ignored the offensive line, and then all those guys got old. They all retired or had to retire, or they had to cut them. And next thing you know, your offensive line was in a big problem. So, oh no, don't worry, you never late, never late, never late in podcast world, Christine. So you know, like I say, I just think one of those things that's just a situation where you got to always draft a guy every year, and also the Steelers got to realize they got some not no issues, but you got like Zach Frazier. He just watched a guy get what $27 million or whatever Linderbaum got. Now obviously he wouldn't get that, but he's definitely probably looking at to get 18, 19, 20 million a year. So the Steelers got to look at that. You got McCormick coming up. So you can't sign everybody. You can't sign. I mean, obviously, if you decide that you got a stud, you probably want to keep that guy. But some of these guys, you can't sign them. You just can't. I mean, before you know it, your offensive line will be $150 million. So you got to make some hard decisions and let some guys go. And the only way you can ease that is constantly bringing in talent and developing guys. So when you make a tough decision, maybe you say, hey, McCormick, we're gonna have to just let him go. You got a guy that comes right in and feel that position. And like Frazier, that's gonna be very interesting. Do you want to pay a center $20 million? Because if I'm him, I'm not taking nothing less. Like I say, the only thing that's going to help them a little bit is because of Linderbaum and Creed Humphreys. Those guys pretty much got the Pro Bowl and all pros locked up. So he can't add that to his behind his name. So that takes some millions away from him. But he's still going to be in the $20 million range, and that's what I'm. If I'm him, that's what I'm going for. And then the NFL is not doing anybody no favors because the way they have it, if you want to franchise a guy, they put excuse me, they put all the linemen in one pool. So it's not like I can franchise this center, but I had to pay his salary is based off a center salary, but it's based off of all the linemen. So you got all those left tackles is making big money. Now Linderbaum is making big money, but that's going to be very interesting. What the Steelers going to do with Frazier because he's coming to he going to want to collect, and he was a second round pick, so it's not like he's made a lot of money. So he's gonna want to collect. So like I say, you got to keep those linemen. You got to keep those linemen coming. We have to keep him though. He's one of the top centers in the league. Yeah, I agree. I agree. But like I say, sometimes you just got to make a money decision. Now, the one thing about the Steelers, they're not paying a quarterback right now, so that kind of helps that you can kind of get away with that. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. So moving right along, moving right along. Um, let's see what we got here. So first third round pick. Um Again, I didn't make any trades as far as moving out of any of these slots. This is a guy that I think um Darnell Jackson Jr., defensive tackle out of Florida State. Um 6'6", 315 pounds. Um so my belief was that the Steelers needed to get a plugger, Coleon, the 6'1", 340 pound type guy. But when I started looking at the Pittsburgh Steelers defensive linemen, and then with them bringing in some day, um, excuse me, I think the Steelers got a type. I think the Steelers got a type. And if you look at all their defensive linemen, they all are they all got long arms. They're all anywhere from 6'3" to 6'5". So they're big guys. And that's the one thing that you're gonna get with Jackson. He's a big guy. He probably got the longest arms of anybody in the draft. And I think he's a guy that he fits the mold. He fits it. Now, to me, I've always thought with a 4-3 defense, you kind of need that plugger. I don't know if the Steelers think that. I don't know. I think they may have another type of another type of thinking there. So we'll see. We'll see. But to get him in the third round, it's that was a no doubt, a no doubt. And he's also a guy because you got Cam. This is probably going to be. I know Cam signed for 2 more years, but this is probably going to be it for Cam. So this is a guy that definitely could be a Cam Hayward replacement, but I just think he's going to be a guy that you're going to add to that room, get some more youth in that room. This also gives you protection if you decide that you don't want to bring Bennett back and let him walk free agency next year. He said tree stumps, you love it. Yeah. But he's definitely not a tree stump. He's the whole tree. But he's a big guy. But like I say, I just think the Steelers may have a type, and I think their type is these big, long guys. So we have to keep an eye on that. But I think that's kind of what their thinking is. Third round pick. Our next third round pick. So I want corner. I want corner. Malik Muhammad. So I know we bought in a couple of corners where we got Ashanti back. We signed Dean, but I just think that room got to keep getting younger. You got to keeping that room young. Dean is a guy that they signed up for 2 years or 3 years, I think, but he could be done at the next year. And my concern has always been when a corner gets to hit 30, you just never know what's going to happen. What we got here? Neither Ben or Black can take a double team, and that hurts us. Exactly. It does. They're just not straight. But you know what, though? I think one of the things is going to be, and I think this was also a big issue that a lot of people don't talk about. Not only did I kind of think the Steelers was a poorly coached team on the defensive side, the Pittsburgh Steelers as a whole, to me, was not a strong team. And so, they got a new weight and conditioning crew in there now. And I think, hopefully that was kind of noticed and, get these guys. And like a guy like Cam Hayward, you ain't going to do nothing with him. At this point in Cam's career, Cam got that old man strength. And he just, all Cam got to do is lay hands on you. And these young boys, he's still throwing these guys around. But with Benton and Harmon and all those guys, they're still young. And those guys got to actually, even though they're in the NFL, they still got to develop and they still got to get stronger. And so also I think that's a big issue because stopping the run is it's about scheme. It's about scheme, definitely about scheming. but also is about desire and it's about strength. Because if you're not strong, you can have the best scheme. I could put my guys in the right positions almost every time, but if he ain't strong, it ain't gonna matter because they're gonna get blown off the ball, or the running back gonna run through their little weak tackles. So I think that's gonna be one of the things. The Pittsburgh Steelers as a team needs to get stronger. Um, so Muhammad, nice size, 6 foot, 182 pounds. This is a guy that could come in. There's really not a lot of pressure on him as far as playing. They could probably play him a little bit in the slot corner. He definitely could be the number one backup as far as with Dean and Porter to get those guys a break. Get them some experience. Again, like I say, you just got to keep corner is another position. You just got to draft one every year. You got to bring one in every year, and because this is what this game is about. This game is about guys blocking these edge rushers, getting rushers to that can get to the quarterback. Obviously, a quarterback and wide receivers that can catch the ball, and you need corners that can cover these receivers. So I think cornerback is a very important position that every year I wouldn't mind seeing a young guy come in and you got to just keep that rotation going, and you can't miss out on the year. Then one of these years you might hit on a guy that you can get 5 or 6 years out of. But I think you got to keep filling that room up, because right now, like I say, Dean, he's basically signed a deal that if he showed all of a sudden he's old, they can get out of his deal. I think Ramsey definitely won't be back next year. Yeah, I mean, he might not even be here this year, but he definitely won't be back next year. Samuel, he signed a 1 year prove it deal. So right there, you could have three of your top guys walking out next year. So you always got to bring corners in and keep that rotation going and protect yourself. Yeah. You right. Whenever anybody want to tell you about Ramsey playing corner, all you have to say to them is Jamar Chase, and that's it. Then you ain't gotta say nothing else. Just say that name, and they'll be like, "Oh yeah, you right," because that was a whooping, and you know, I don't even want to put him in the slot because to me the slot is even worse because think about it. We just said one of the things we want to do is get a Omar Cooper Jr., a fast guy, a shifty guy, and in the slot. You got to remember the slot. He's off the line, so you can't bump him. You can't. The slot receiver. He's lining up off the line, so the corner can't bump him, and that's just totally not Ramsey's game anymore. Now, granted, Ramsey do gives you that chance, that opportunity. He's a great rusher from the slot. He can rush the quarterback, but as far as checking anybody, I think putting him in the slot is even worse than putting him outside. So, I don't know. The Steelers gonna have to figure that one out with him. But so, with that said, like I said, I want corner and like I said, you got to just keep bringing guys in. I think Muhammad would be a great guy to bring in, and yeah, yep, you're right. So I think Muhammad would be a great guy to bring in, and to get him groomed, and also, like I say, he'll play a little bit. He'll play a little bit, and that just give you some protection going into next year as far as having another guy. Well, let's keep this moving. Let's keep this moving. All right. So our final third round pick would be pick 99, safety, Bud Clark, 6'1", 188 pounds, out of TCU. This is a guy that gets his hands on a lot of balls. Um, Great interceptor of the ball, so he got good ball skills, good hands. Another young guy, just to put just to put in that room. Because the guys that you got now, you got Elliott, which this could be his swan song. And also a guy like Bud Clark, he could push some of these guys off the roster. He could push some of these guys off. And then you got, I guess you could say Ramsey is a safety, so he's still kind of learning that position. So this is a guy that you just throw in the mix. You just throw him in the mix, and see where he lands. Definitely could be a special team guy for you until he gets him a full time role. But this is a guy, like I say, he gets his hands on a lot of balls, great speed. And so this is the guy that I think the Steelers should definitely look at. Um, and he would be a great value. He'll be a great value at this point. All right, here we go. We about to get into some as my man G would say, we about to get into some diabolical picks here in a minute. Here we go. Here we go. Do, 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 do. All right, surprise here. Surprise, surprise, surprise. Um, and part of it was I've been kind of feeling Drew Aller a little bit in this position, but actually he was gone. He was gone when I went to go draft, so I had to go with the next guy, and that's Garrett Nussmeier. I know a lot of Steeler fans don't like him, but I think when you look at his situation as a football person, you look at his situation last year. He had a oblique injury, and if any of you ever had that injury before, especially trying to be a quarterback and throwing the ball, that's a hard injury to get over. Actually, just because he was still trying to, he probably should have set out, but he still wanted to play. And by getting out there playing and to trying to, you know, still throw the ball, he ended up getting some bad habits. But I'm telling you, folks, this guy can play. He can play. Now, the one thing I will say, and I don't want you to think that I'm picking with Mike Tomlin. Now, this is definitely a diabolical pick if Mike Tomlin is still your coach, because I had no faith in him or his staff of developing a quarterback. But those days are over with. And I think you have a quarterback. I mean, you have a coach, a head coach that has shown that he can develop quarterbacks. And this guy got all the tools. And, I know a lot of people say, well, you need a guy that can run. Now, he can make plays with his feet. Now, he ain't no Lamar Jackson. But as you can see, what have Lamar Jackson ever won? He's more of a, and don't get me wrong, don't quote me wrong when I say this, but he's kind of a Patrick Mahomes in the fact of not throwing the ball or anything like that. But Patrick Mahomes makes his money throwing that football. That's what Patrick Mahomes, he makes his money throwing that rock, staying in the pocket and throwing that football. But when it comes time and he need to scramble or the gates open up, yes, he can take off and run, and that's what Nussmeyer can do that same thing. Yeah, he ain't gonna get you 80 yards a game, but he ain't no statue back there either that he just can't move. But he's good enough. He's definitely mobile enough to move in the pocket, and that's what to me a good quarterback does. He's mobile in the pocket. So you take that the coaching that he would get from McCartney, watching Aaron Rodgers for a year, and being in the room with Aaron Rodgers and basically being Aaron Rodgers' understudy. His father is an offensive coordinator with the New Orleans Saints, so he knows the pro game. He knows the pro game. I think McCartney probably knew this kid since he probably was a kid, because McCartney and his dad is good friends. So he's probably knew this kid forever. He has an arm. He can make all the throws. So just don't be shocked. Don't be shocked if this happens. Not guaranteeing it, but again, just I'm just letting you know. Don't be shocked if you see this happen. And yeah, I'll say it, and I'm gonna stick with it. And it just don't matter if it's Nussmeier. If the Pittsburgh Steelers take a quarterback in the top four rounds, so round 1, 2, 3, or 4, if they take a quarterback in those rounds, I can almost see Howard not being on this roster. And the reason I say that is McCartney gonna want his guy that he draft. He ain't gonna want him to go through all that commotion because I don't know, for some reason Howard got this big fan base behind him for some reason. I don't get it. So that's gonna be part of it. And again, Mr. Art Rooney has told everybody this team is not into tanking. So there's no way that the Pittsburgh Steelers is going to draft a quarterback and then have Aaron Rodgers, which this would be his last year. And he's 43 years old. So who knows? The first pass Rodgers throw, his arm could fall off. The Steelers are not going to go into the season with two guys that never have thrown an NFL pass ever as the backups. And with that said, I think Mason Rudolph will probably still be on this team, and he'll be Rudolph probably as the backup, and then one of these young guys, if say Nussmeier is the quarterback, he probably will be definitely he's going to start off as the third quarterback, and he's going to do his quarterback school and all that stuff. And he's learning how to be a pro. He's watching Rodgers, being trained by Rodgers, being trained by McCartney to take this thing over next year. And I think Rudolph will be number 2. And you can't sit there and try to develop 2 young quarterbacks. It ain't gonna work. So don't be shocked if Howard is not on this roster next year. I think all the love and all the Howard I think is all a smoke screen. I don't believe in it. So with that said, that's who I have as Steelers' 4th pick. And again, don't be shocked if this happens. It could be Drew Aller also, but staying true to my board. When I went to go pick Aller, he was adios amigos. All right. So again, like I've always said, you need to bring in offensive line talent. Drew Bartney. This is a offensive tackle from Boston College. This will be our second fourth round pick 130. This is the guy that definitely has some talent, needs to get stronger. When you watch his film, in the run game, he struggles a little bit, but a lot of that is strength. He has great feet. He can move. Just like I say, needs to get stronger. His arms, decent size. I think I want to say the cutoff for NFL tackles is 34 inches, and I think he was at 33 and 3/8. So he's right there. Again, this is I guess you could say he's a project, but he's a guy that definitely, he would need a year of coaching and getting in that weight room and getting stronger and being ready to compete with grown mans. Um, but this is somebody that you could, you could end up getting a hit. You could end up getting a hit, but if not, he's definitely going to be able to be a swing tackle for you. Um, so just a I think a good solid pick. And again, you always going to try to have you always going to have these type guys. You always going to have some kind of project guys that you got to just keep working with. And I like to pick. So that's what we did in the fourth round. And let's see here. Let's keep this thing moving. All right, so we went wide receiver. We went wide receiver here. And another guy, Cabe Douglas, out of Texas Tech. Um, fifth round pick, 6'4", 206 pounds. He ran a 4.39 at the combine. Um, Another guy that it just gives you depth. He's a depth guy right now. He's a guy that you know he high points the ball well. I think some of his weaknesses is that when he get into context, um I guess close range with the DB fighting, or 50-50 balls, I guess you could say. Um, Sometimes the DB will wrestle it away from him. And again, that's just getting stronger. I mean, even though, you got a lot of guys that, even though they're receivers, they want to work on their footwork and their speed and all that, but you still got to get in that, you still got to get in that weight room and pump some iron. And actually, he's a great blocker. He's a great blocker. So he's willing. He's willing. It's just got to get stronger, So he's a guy that will probably come in. He'll be number 4, number 5, and he has an opportunity to develop. And the Steelers can see what they have there, and if it doesn't work out, you keep adding. Like, again, this is another position that you just got to keep adding players. You got to just keep adding players. He's a guy that I would try and see if he's a returner, because he has that great speed. See if he's at least a kickoff returner, because that's something that the Pittsburgh Steelers have not had since I'm about to date myself, but Dwight Hands the Stone or young AB, because remember AB used to return kicks in his early days before he turned into AB. So just a guy, a depth guy, another guy to put in the room and get this receiving room back up to NFL standards, we could say. So our last pick of this draft, and like I said, we made some trades to get some guy. Well, the trades I made, actually, I picked up some picks for next year. Like I said, I just don't believe the Steelers is gonna make all these picks. And so this last pick took another development guy, another safety, Lorenzo Styles Jr. Now, one of the reasons I took him, he ran a 4.2 at the combine. He played kind of, well, I guess you could say he kind of played safety at Ohio State. I want to say he was at Notre Dame. He was a receiver. So obviously, when he came to Ohio State, he definitely wasn't going to play receiver. So they tried to find a place to stick him. Again, he's a development guy, 6 foot, 194 pounds. I took him in 6th round with our one of the 6th round picks that I kept. But I would definitely be trying to make him a special teams guy and definitely make him a kick return guy. This is another guy that I would give a chance to because, like I say, he played receiver, so he has good hands. He's used to, carrying the ball and working with, having the ball in his hand. So, yeah, let's use that 4.2 speed and get some kick returns here because I don't understand it. The Steelers in all these years have not had a kick returner. So I think at the worst, he definitely could do that. It's a 6th round pick, so it's not a big investment. And then also, you still work him at safety and see if he develops, into something. Because we definitely need more team speed in the secondary. So, that was that was a good pick, a good solid pick, I believe. And with that said, that is it. That is it for Mock Drive 5.0. We'll be having another one coming out shortly, and we'll keep these things going until right up into the real draft. So until then, you guys take care. Thanks for joining me, and I will talk to you later. All right. Bye-bye.